Welcome, 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 everyone, to Together We Serve TV show. It is December 6th, 2024. I just added the date today on my show, and my guests are so excited because you know what? Christmas is a few weeks away. We're going to talk about happiness. I want you to think about if your kids were happier in their school, happier altogether, would you be happier? Would you have less stress, less anxiety? Would your kids learn more? Would the children be smarter? Would they have a better time, have more fun? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The name of this show is Happy Children Learn Better. And I still am a child, so I am excited to hear about this because I want to learn better as well, or learn more, or educate. So I love to be happy. So let's bring on our wonderful guests, Liz and Cyrina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. We're excited to be here.
Audience, that's the two happiest women I've ever met. Seriously. When I first met them, they're super happy. So they live their life with this happiness. Let's start with the title of the show. And either one can start. Happy Children Learn Better. Tell us more about that.
Well, when children are happy, their brains are more receptive to learning. If you think about if you're in crisis or stressed or hungry or tired, you get distracted and it's really hard to focus. So when your needs are met and you feel happy, then you are more receptive to learning and your brain's more lit up for learning.
Yeah, it's fascinating because we know that when we're happy, we release dopamine. And when we release dopamine, it basically stimulates the learning centers in our brain. And also, when we're stressed, we increase cortisol. When we increase cortisol, we have decreased prefrontal cortex access and we're not making logical decisions. So I feel like there's so much in science that is showing that happiness is a key to a better life and learning better as well.
Yeah. And it's funny, the word dopamine. Dope. Well, we're not talking about being dope. That's a whole different thing. When you said that, it came to my head. It's like dopamine. What an interesting name. But so if children are happier, are the parents have less anxiety, less stress, all that comes with that?
Well, I would say not only are the parents less stressed, but the children are teaching the parents how to manage their anxiety. At the school where I teach, I've been teaching mindfulness this is my 8th year teaching at this elementary school. And one of the parents there is also the school nurse, and she has 4 children at the school. And she told me this story of how they went hiking as a family over fall break. And she has a lot of anxiety that she carries anyway. And she was carrying a lot of anxiety that day that they went on this hike in Bryce Canyon or something, she was concerned that they wouldn't have enough water, that the kids wouldn't be able to make it, that it was too far. And one of her children, who's been learning mindfulness at the school, said, Mom, whenever I feel like this, I think about what Miss Liz said, and proceeded to teach her a breathing technique. And so I think not only do the parents feel happier because their children are happier, but also the children are going to teach the adults.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that as adults, we many times forget to nourish the inner child because we all have an inner child. And I think that if we could be fun and silly with children, Liz and I introduced a game for families and friends also. It's called Be Present to Catch Happiness. So we really want people to be conscious of introducing fun into their lives because I think people get so stressed out, they forget to have fun. But if you plan it, it's more apt to occur because you've got a game plan like, hey, let's be silly. And we tell the children, we're like, tell your parents to nourish their inner child and to be silly.
And I love this mindfulness. And Liz, I want you, because you're a teacher, so it's really relevant, what you mean by mindfulness, because mindfulness is talked about as adults. Are you mindfulness? But in children, that's a new concept I'm new to. Talk about how you use that in the class and how effective it is.
Well, you know how you can learn something from a friend or maybe even a total stranger that maybe your spouse or a friend or a parent was trying to tell you for years, and you just finally hear it, and then you go back and say, hey, this one person said what I really should do is X. And I know my husband will be like, I said that years ago, Sometimes you can't learn it for somebody who's too close, right? But going in the classroom, I always go in with the attitude that what I'm teaching is it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall is how I like to phrase it. And hopefully one of those noodles will stick, right? So I teach a variety of tools and techniques on how to alleviate anxiety, improve focus, um, uplift your energy if you're feeling depleted, or calm down if you're feeling overexcited. And the tools and techniques are being taught in such a way that the problem that the child might be facing, or the challenge the child might be facing, could be at home. It could be in the classroom with the teacher. It could be in the classroom with a classmate. It could be something totally different. And by teaching the way I teach in such a way that the students hopefully will take one of the nuggets that I teach all year, hopefully more, but at least one, that they make their own and carry on for life, right? So I teach breathing techniques, there's a lot of neuroscience around how breathing techniques can help calm your nervous system, but also teaching them about mindful listening and mindful seeing and mindful eating. We do a mindful eating over the Halloween weekend. Usually I can't do that in the school now because of all like peanut allergies and things. And so we'll do that separately. So I do not only in the classroom work, but I also have a video course collection. But just teaching them different ways. And then mindfulness isn't just breathing or sitting still like a Zen Buddhist. It's also being conscious of how we're showing up in the world and paying attention, right? So mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment, or in the present moment, without judgment. And so we can reduce judgment, period. We can be more in tune with what somebody else might be feeling. We can look for clues like a tear going down their cheek or their angst on their face, and say, like, how can I help, right? And so compassion, empathy, generosity, kindness are all concepts that are taught through mindfulness education. And one student last year said, nothing you've taught me this year has stuck, but that one thing that you said today has worked for me. And so my hope is that, and in that case, it was thinking, I'm breathing in as you breathe in, I'm breathing out as you breathe out, and giving part of the brain that's busy something to focus on besides just the breathing. So I hope that answered your question.
It did. And I'm going to come to you, Liz, in Cyrina, in a minute. But you said spaghetti, and I'm Italian, so you make me hungry. So thank you. Which now I'm hungry. But I just used that phrase an hour ago. It's funny, we're sisters from another mother, because I truly believe that we should give out our stuff. If it doesn't fit somebody, we still love each other. We can still hug, walk away. But here's some ideas for you. So, Cyrina, what's your thoughts on mindfulness in children?
Well, it's interesting because when Liz was speaking, it reminded me of when we were at the school. This was right past COVID. And Liz taught prior to COVID and then did videos for the children during COVID. And all the children were coming up. Literally, I think like 10 children came up and asked for her autograph and said, thank you so much for what you taught me, because I didn't get mad at my sibling or my sister or whatever. And I was like, wow. And it was just like, what an impact. And I think it's making children more conscious of how to interact, and also to pause, hey, we all get upset. We all get angry. We're all human. We all have insecurities. It's there. We have different emotions. We all do. But we can pause and have a shift and allow ourselves to bring our best selves forward. And that's with children and adults. But I think what I'm key about is the fact that Liz and I are very conscious about wanting young children, ages 3 to 6, to create that strong foundation and to be able to navigate the challenges in life. Because, I've been a pharmacist for many years, and it was interesting seeing young children needing, anti-anxiety meds, which really was hard for me, because I feel like I'm thankful we have medications, but I also feel like we're an over-medicated society. And I really want children to have different tools in their tool belt to be able to navigate the roller coaster of life.
Yeah. And when I met you guys a month ago, been 8, 9 months. I think me and you, Liz, connected at that conference in June. I love you guys because you care about children. Why are you going to school? I know part it's because you're a teacher, Liz, but why is a lot of your focus schools and children? You both can answer.
Well, my personal focus is the children because I started teaching mindfulness so I was mostly a stay-at-home mom up until the last 10 years. And my oldest, when she was 12, had a friend whose older brother was 14 and took his own life. And I was so naive. I just couldn't believe that somebody that age would even know how to take their own life. And so I was deeply concerned. And so I went to the school. This is the middle school level. And I went to the school and I said, I want to be part of the solution. And so the short version is that I started teaching mindfulness and the kids would come voluntarily. And then after a few years of doing that, I realized we need to start even younger. And so I started teaching at the elementary school level. And now I've been at the school, like I said, for 8 years. So you can see how them having that consistent mindfulness in the classroom, the teachers are doing it more. I'm in more of the classrooms. And the students we're hearing about less bullying, less classroom disruptions, fewer trips to the principal's office. And hopefully, ultimately, less bullying and people not feeling like they want to take their own life, that they can see that whatever's going on is temporary, whereas suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And we don't want that, right? So we want to be able to give the students something that they can use to live more resiliently and be more empowered to know that they can handle whatever life comes whatever comes their way in their life.
Yeah, and I would say that I'm inspired to work with young children because I feel like they are going to be our future. And I really want them to know these tools, to be able to navigate life. And, I've almost died 3 times in my life. And I feel like this life is a gift and it has a lot of challenges, unfortunately, at times. And we want children to realize, sometimes life is hard, but you have an inner strength inside of you that will move you through those challenges and that you have a gift to share with this world. And there will never be anyone just like you. You are one of a kind and you have a gift to share. And we really want children to realize that, to find their inner strength and to realize that they have something to share with our world.
Yeah, you give me goosebumps, both of you. And I'm going to get to your story, Cyrina, because the audience needs to hear it, why you're so passionate. It's an incredible story, audience. We'll get in the next segment. So, parents listening, you said tools, Cyrina, great word, because they really are tools. What's that journey look like when you take one of these audience's children, bring them to the school, start working with your tools? What's it look like? What's the benefit? What's the ROI?
Well, we actually have an online course called Lessons from the Bright Butterfly. We're actually going to be changing the name to the Bright Butterfly Lessons. And we're really excited because we've gotten great feedback about it. And we're about to animate it so children will feel more connected to the bright butterfly. And we take the child through basically the life cycle of the butterfly and associate social and emotional learning skills with the life cycle of the butterfly. And so initially we have the egg, which is the mindset. And then it goes into becoming a caterpillar. And it's crawling on the leaves trying to catch happiness. And then Liz does the next part.
And then it has to go into its chrysalis, right? So it wraps itself in its chrysalis. And that's when we do a lot of some of the EFT tapping butterfly hug and tap and breathing exercises and imagining, the kids will imagine themselves in a cocoon. And then as it needs to push its way out of the chrysalis, we know that now that you cannot help a butterfly push its way out of the chrysalis or it'll die. It has to do that itself. So helping children understand that they need to be able to be strong on their own. And so we imagine pushing out of the chrysalis and spreading our wings and flying. We do some breathing exercises with that too. We get the kids up moving. Either they're sitting still or they're getting up and moving and spreading their wings and opening their arms. And there's all different ways that we are engaging them in the process. And then once it's out of its chrysalis shell, it's
once its dreams come true, one flutter at a time. And so we share tools with them to be more conscious of what they really want in their life. And we also have daily activities with the Bright Butterfly, and we encourage the children to do something every day that brings them happiness. Because we never learned this as children. I don't know if you did, Steve, but I didn't learn this, to be proactive in our happiness. And what makes you happy versus what makes me happy or what makes Liz happy, it's all very different. And so each person can design what brings them happiness and introduce it to their day. Simple little things, whether it's a 5-minute dance party or whatever it might be. We also encourage the children to do something every day that brings them health, like drinking water, eating fruit, going for a walk, exercising, riding their bike, whatever it is. And then to learn something new every day, because we want children to be able to, follow their dreams and to have a good foundation before they actually move towards, elementary school and junior high, and know kind of where their passion is.
What does it look like? Go ahead, Liz.
I was just going to say, kind of exploring, we put so much pressure on kids by saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, well, I want to be happy. I'd like to be happy more than not. So we encourage them to, if their answer is, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a chef, or, whatever, then they can explore that concept of well, can I watch a video about that? Could I read a book about that? Could I draw a picture of what that might feel like? Can I think about what it might feel like to be an astronaut, to be a chef, and have them explore that, so they don't get all the way through college and go, gosh, I don't want to be a chef. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said a very important word, pressure. I think there's so much more pressure from kids 6 to 18 before they go into adulthood now than ever. I know my dad said the same thing, and his dad probably said the same thing. We know generations changed, but with technology and everything happening, how important, and I love the title, Sustainable Happiness, because you could have called it happiness, and everybody would have been good. Yes, we all want to be happy, but that front word, sustainable, is so important to me. And audience, you need to hear this. Why that, and why is that important?
Well, I would say that, with emotions, they go up and down. Nobody's 24/7 happy. We know this. But we also know that we can introduce things into our day that can bring more happiness, and be conscious of that. And it's a daily activity that we have to do, because it's not just going to be there. We've got to be proactive in our lives, because we're the directors of our lives, and what movie do we want to create with our lives? And I really feel like if we're proactive, we're able to have more happy moments.
How about you, Liz?
Well, what Cyrina said, but also, I have a friend who, we'll be on a hike or whatever, and she kind of gives me a hard time. She's like, you can't sell happiness. People can't be happy all the time. And I'm like, we're not selling happiness. We're selling the ability to feel happy more often. And so for me, I've carried a lot of anxiety as I was growing up, and we've got kind of genetic anxiety in my family. And I sort of declared to the universe or whatever, it stops with me. But in order for it to stop with me, I have to meditate every morning. I show up better for my family, for my friends, for my parents who are still living, thank goodness. I show up better because I take that time to meditate every morning, like I take my vitamin, and I've made it a priority. And so what we're hoping to do is to teach children, but also adults, how to prioritize. You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to go through life as a poor me. You don't have to go through life, mostly in suffering. You can experience more happiness, but no, you're not going to feel happy all the time. In fact, one of the classes I teach is about riding the roller coaster of emotions. And if you're feeling sad, if you want to cry, watch one of those movies that's going to make you cry and cleanse, release that manganese, Yeah. But if you're starting to feel angry, maybe you can catch yourself and make a different choice. So imagine in this climate that we're living in right now, imagine if instead of judging people on their political beliefs or their religious beliefs, or whether they wear orange or not, or whatever football team they love, instead of judging them, we could be curious and not judgmental, right?
Yeah, I like that. How about you, Cyrina?
Well, I think that allows us to be more expansive as people. Like, are we all going to agree on everything? No, we know this. But we fortunately live in a country where we can have our opinions and that we can, feel the way we feel and be honest. But we also, it's interesting because I think that many times we can allow ourselves to be open to learning. Why does this person think this? This is very different from what I think. And they sometimes bring up things I'm like, I never thought of it that way. And so it expands the way that you think about things. And you're like, okay, I can see that perspective. And I think that so many times people are like, nope, this is the way it is. This is how I think. And, and I think if you're not open to expanding and learning, then you're going to limit your life.
Yeah. I'm excited to ask this question. I don't know if I've asked you because they were guests on my podcast. Absolutely incredible guests, by the way. This is a result culture, world, result oriented. Everybody needs results. I need to know, hey, I'm going to be on this show. What's I'm going to get? So tell us, each one of you, a story of a child that you work with using mindfulness and happiness and what the result was. So with you, Liz.
Oh, I mean, I see 500 kids a week.
Yeah.
So 8 years, that's a lot. Okay, well, I'll do two quick ones. One is from an 8th grader. I was helping out with makeup or something one day when my kids were younger. And she was like, 2 years ago, you said something I'll never forget. And I had been teaching in morning meetings. So 250 students in an auditorium that one year. And so this is 2 years after that event. She said, I'll never forget what you said in that mindfulness lesson. You said, if you feel subconscious closing your eyes because you're worried that people will laugh at you because you're closing your eyes, close your eyes. And I thought, barely remember saying that, but you never know when something you say will affect somebody, like just teaching a 13-year-old or 12 or 13-year-old, like, don't care so much about what other people think in just one quick phrase, And then another time, and I think it's around the time that Cyrina and I returned to the school, and a child said, or this is definitely one of the testimonials, like one kid was like, I got really angry at my sister and I was going to kick her in the stomach. And then I took some deep breaths and calmed down.
Wow.
I'm so glad you didn't kick your sister in the stomach or whatever it was. But, I don't know the ripple effect of what we're doing, but it doesn't really matter, because if these children are getting some benefit, and if these children are showing up better, and they're teaching their parents and maybe even their teachers how to be better, the future looks bright. I mean, I really think the future looks bright. I think that's part of the reason our course is called the Bright Butterfly Lessons, because we want children to recognize, like, I was just a stay-at-home mom. I saw a problem and I chose to take action to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
And
well,
that
it's
was
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful. And I got to really talk about this. That story you told about kicking his sister. When kids can do stuff that are out of the ordinary, I think kids look up and go, maybe the sister went, he didn't kick me, why did he stop? It starts paying it backwards. My guest a couple of weeks ago said, instead of paying it backward, where other kids, imagine two kids are going to get in the fight. They stop because Liz said, breathe, and they start doing breathing exercises amongst 20 kids. Well, that's going to have a ripple effect. You are having a ripple effect, both of you incredible women, because even if 20 kids are watching, 5 start taking breaths, you just affected 5 more lives. And literally, because of suicide, you are saving lives. I just had to say that because you guys, it's so powerful what you do. How about you, Cyrina? Any child thoughts come to your head, child stories?
Yeah, well, I will say that actually I've got 2 to share with you. One is that one child said, I remember all the time to get up and smile, because when I smile, I feel better. And I was like, wow. I mean, because we know when we smile, we produce positive neurotransmitters. And that's something we talk about, is putting a smile on our face. It's a very simple thing to do, but it's infectious and it does have a ripple effect, we know, and it also can help bring more happiness to your day. So that was one thing that made my heart smile. And then another one, when we were at the school the other day, one of the kindergarten teachers said that one of our students was sick and missed the course that it's a weekly course that is online that the kids take from the Bright Butterfly. And she saw another child go up to the child who was absent and said, "This is what we learned yesterday from the Bright Butterfly." And then he taught him like the breathing exercises. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that makes my heart feel so good." Like, because if a child is seeing, wow, this is really great what we're learning, and they're wanting to share it with their friends or their other classmates, I think, wow, this is really making an impact on the youth.
And it impacted both of you as well. I could tell your body language has changed when you tell these stories. And what's interesting is neurotransmitters from Cyrina, children from Liz, the teacher and the doctor. It's funny how you guys are not yin and yang. You guys are together from different perspectives, and I love that. Well, we're coming close to the segment here. What do you see the future of sustainable happiness?
We're going to go global, Steve. We are going global. Our program has been in 2 schools for 3 years, and first we piloted it, and then we've had it more live for the last 3 years. And the feedback's been great, but we've also had the great privilege of meeting a neuroscientist named J.W. Wilson, who wrote Cracking the Learning Code. And he talks about how we really only retain, I think it's 3% of what we learn and from school. And so the education system needs to change. And he's being super supportive of our work. And then he's introduced us to an Emmy Award-winning film producer named Brian Doubleday, who is working with us to animate our program, so it's not two old ladies talking. It's a butterfly talking to the kids, because kids are more receptive to cartoon characters and that sort of thing. And so we're getting it animated. We're going to ultimately have it translated. Thanks to AI, we'll have it translated into languages so it can go global. And then we've also been connected with Dr. Rich Melheim, who we're hoping will get it get it in the metaverse. So it'll be more accessible globally, and then we can just, I don't know, I mean, maybe the goal is world peace ultimately.
Yeah, I love Dr. Rich. I don't know if I referred you guys, maybe I didn't, I don't know, but Dr. Rich is a rock star. Definitely a great partner for you. Cyrina, what about you?
Yeah, I would say that we are just on the cusp of rebranding and also making this course more interactive for children and them connecting more with the Bright Butterfly. And so we're ready to plant the seeds of happiness with the children and for a brighter future, and also mindfulness and resiliency. And we would love to, have people join us on this journey with us.
We got a few more minutes for the break. What is one thing you would tell parents right now to bring more happiness into the family?
Well, I would say that every morning that you would make sure you put smiles on your face. And then in the evening, maybe go around the table and say something you're grateful for in your day. I mean, these are 2 simple things that you can do to incorporate in your daily life that doesn't take a lot. And also, I would say at least once a week, be a little silly, play some fun games, and connect with the children, because Liz should share this story about connecting with her children and games.
Yeah, sure.
One thing I would like to share for all the parents out there, and a lot of times when you're raising your kids, you feel like you're walking uphill during a mudslide, pushing a boulder. You just want them to do these things. And what my advice would be, now that my kids are grown, is just keep something consistent. So every Friday when our kids were growing up, we would do family pizza and movie night. And then every Sunday night, no devices, we would do family game night after dinner on Sunday evenings. And it's funny because now that they're grown and flown, when they are home, they want to play games on Sunday nights. We do Sunday night check-ins still, even though we're all in different cities now. Yeah. And it fascinates me that just holding that space two nights of the weekend, and of course there were exceptions, they now do that. So they play games, and our youngest is in college in Chicago, which is where my sister lives. And she goes to my sister's and they do puzzles together and they play games. And I'm just like, but it takes time, dedication, and consistency. But don't give up on family connection, and it's magic. Yeah.
No, and you guys are a perfect fit for all this because accountability and practice, that's what you guys are coming in. Practice and happiness, reminding them, the people you're working with, the children, the parents, hey, did you do happiness last week? And like I do with survey, hey, who'd you serve yesterday? Just because we all need that. I need that. I don't want to speak for you wonderful ladies, but we all need that because people go, I know about happiness, but are they practicing it? That's what I love. You help people practice. And a good friend of mine, business partner, Jen Drummond, she taught me on one of the calls I had last year with her. You guys know Jen? Heard of Jen Drummond? On live recording, I'm going to introduce you to her because she's powerful. She broke the world record climbing K2 Mountain.
Wow.
And she's got 7 children, and she's a single mom. And she runs a top financial firm as well. But
wow,
what she told me, this is why I was thinking about you guys. She said, she talks about gratefulness. Why not? You did what you did. She goes, what I do is I call red light grateful, I think. Grateful red light. When she has her kids in the car and they stop at a red light, she goes, okay, what are you all grateful? What? Start shouting it out. Every red light. Can you imagine how much happiness is built on that?
Aww.
To you guys, it's crazy. So we'll do that down the road. But let's take a break. These ladies have been talking a lot. They're absolutely wonderful. Come back for the second segment because we're going to tell Cyrina's story and Liz's story in a different way. We'll see you all in about 6 to 8 minutes.
Do you want to be more calm, focused, and optimistic in the sea of chaos? Ready for resilience during the challenges we face in our days? How about being more mindful in your moments, having more gratitude for the little things in life that help bring more happiness into your relationships? Are you ready to level up and introduce tools into your life that can help you feel empowered and in control? Let us help you create a vision to design a life you would love so you do not live a life of default. We are Liz Rutledge with Sustainable 3 and Dr. Cyrina Bullard with Catch Happiness. And as colleagues and friends, we are excited to share with you science-based tools to help you find more resilience in your now, be more present and mindful in your moments, and introduce more happiness into your day. Winning Wellness Experience will help you find this in your life. We just launched our course and have a very special deal for you. This life can be challenging at times, and we all know, although it is a gift, let's co-create sustainable happiness together. Go to winningwellness.learnworlds.com to register for our Winning Wellness Experience. You've got this.
Welcome to our show. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Sit back and enjoy. We will talk with people about their stories. With our host Ramona, we're ready to start. Together we serve. Together we serve. Together we serve. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Sit back and enjoy. Education, inspiration, motivation for business and life. With our host Ramona, we're ready to start.
Hi, my name is Molly Kirschling, and I've taught in Denver Public Schools for over 20 years. I've taught ECE for the last 15 years, and I used lessons from A Bright Butterfly this year with my ECE students for our social emotional learning. And it was wonderful, and the students took to it just incredibly well. We paired it with our science lessons of learning the metamorphosis or the life cycle of real butterflies. We started it right after spring break and took it until the end of the school year, and it just paired so beautifully together. As the caterpillars grew, we had many lessons about growth mindset and finding happiness. As they went into their, or formed and went into their chrysalis, we talked about having resilience and being mindful, just as the caterpillars were inside their chrysalis, that the children were learning mindfulness and resiliency. And then finally, when they emerged as butterflies, and how the children were emerging as incoming kindergartners and then made it through preschool and finding happiness in all the things that they were doing. I did see them using some of the skills, some of the coping skills or resiliency skills on the playground and interactions during center's time. They would stop and take some deep breaths and do the chrysalis or the cocoon wrap around their body to kind of reset themselves into playing nicely again with friends or using their words with friends. And the children.
Well, I tell you what, I am pretty fired up because I just listened to that testimonial and sorry, I had to shut it off. So people were like, "Oh, is he doing? Look all over." But the butterfly and the chrysalis, I just said it right. I haven't been able to say it right since I met these ladies. But again, they've told us what sustainable happiness can do. And it's something the teacher said, by the way, 20 years. And she took this program and it's working for her. We know as we do something for a long time, it's hard to adapt new things. She adapted it and it worked. But the two words that stuck out to me is when I mentor business owners and talk to many great guests like I have today, Liz and Cyrina, growth mindset's only been talked about with adults. So you listening that are parents, think about that. Your kids, your children have a growth mindset at 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. Are they going to be better adults? Are they going to be better people? Are they going to be happy? I want you to think about that. I think you all know the answer. Well, let's bring back our wonderful guest, Liz and Cyrina. Oh, that's where Liz go. There she is. I thought I lost Liz. Don't want to lose you. What an incredible testimonial. She's here. What an incredible testimonial. Thank you for sharing that so I could share with the audience. Let's jump in, Cyrina, with you first, with your story. You mentioned earlier that you've died 3 times, come back to life, which I say it blows me away. I'll just say that. Tell about that, how that happened, and what you've learned from that.
Well, the first time I was only 11 years old and I was struck by lightning. I grew up in Florida and lightning's very popular there. And my mother had to give me CPR. And I felt very grateful that she knew CPR and that she was able to bring me back to life. And so that was the first brush with death. Second one was I was in New Zealand and I fell off a 21-foot waterfall doing something that was a little extreme, but I didn't realize that I would be the one who fell out of the boat. And luckily I listened to my guide saying, ball up, you're going to roll out because your instinct is to swim. But that was not the right one because I was swallowing so much water. But fortunately, I ended up balling up and rolling out because I changed my surface area and rolled out of the huge waterfall. And then my third brush with death, I was on a bicycle riding on a path that I'd ridden many, many, many times. And I wish I could say I was mountain biking off a cliff, but I was on a path. And fortunately, I had on my helmet or I would not be here. And apparently, my front tire went off the path and I basically did somersaults, clipped into my bike. And when the first responder got there, I was non-responsive and he had to give me CPR to bring me back. And I feel so grateful. And I actually got to take him out to dinner a year and a half later. And he said that $5,000 that my father spent on the course to learn how to be in the wilderness and to survive was the best $5,000 that he ever spent. And I was like, wow, I feel so thankful. But, you know, I was flight for life from Vail to Denver Health. I was in a coma for 18 days and then in the hospital for 2.5 months. And I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I couldn't feed myself. And they told my mother that she would have to take care of me for the rest of my life. And I want this to be an illustration of you're not a statistic. You're one of a kind and you have an inner strength that can move you through those challenges. And I think our mindset really has an impact on the outcomes of our lives. And I was very fortunate because I have a very supportive and loving family and friends who helped me along the way. We celebrated every small victory, whether I was able to say a word or take a step, whatever it was.
You're literally happy to be alive. Talk about sustainable
I'm great.
happiness. I mean, that's why I wanted you to tell the story. It's a powerful story anyways, but I'm sure this is part of your why, helping children, because who knows, you didn't plan those three kind of catastrophic events. It's life. And so glad, praise the Lord that you're here, that you can help people and do what you're doing. Liz, let's talk about what's below me here, below us. You're offering 70% off all your programs exclusively for my listeners, and I should put my. Talk about that, what that's all about, and again, where they can find it.
Well, our program, so we do have the program for young children. The Bright Butterfly Lessons will be our new branding name, our newly branded name. But before we started working with children, we were working with adults. And when Cyrina and I first partnered, we were doing in-person workshops. And because of COVID, we should maybe even be a little thankful for the pandemic, because it pushed us to convert our in-person workshop to an online course collection. And so we have the Winning Wellness Experience. That's a course collection for adults. And we partnered with 6 co-creators. So not only do you get the happiness, mindfulness, resiliency, and visioning, you also get a chef, did a cooking class. We have a nap expert that does a guided nap practice, a yoga teacher. We have a whole bunch of different offerings there. And it's all bundled together. And as a thank you for anyone watching for this long, we would love for you to accept 70% off with the coupon code at checkout, Full of Heart, FULLOFHEART. And if you're curious about the Lessons from the Bright Butterfly, the current version is available on our website. If you go to online education, so go to Sustainable Happiness Together, online education is one of the tabs up top. And then you can explore all of our courses with the Lessons from the Bright Butterfly. We have one for families in addition to the one that is used by teachers in the classroom. And you can get 70% off any of the classes using that promo code right now. And actually,
I feel special.
As you should.
Oh my God. And again, audience, together we serve the show. In this case, there's 2 wonderful ladies working together, but it's just not that. It's teachers that you work with, Liz, like we just saw your teacher that you had do a testimonial. It's together we serve. This is a tough subject to get into, but we're going to talk about is suicide. A stat I heard from a gentleman that African-American boys from 6 to 12 or 6 to 15, 70% increase of suicide since COVID. And there's many million stats. I'm not going to recite stats. That's too boring because people know. How powerful is your program? I know you're not a therapist, you're not here to solve it, but how can sustainable happiness make a dent in this issue?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like each child needs to realize that there will be hard times, and people sometimes are not nice. When I was a little girl, I was made fun of. I was overweight, raised pigs. I was called the pig girl, and I had lots of insecurities. But as an adult, I realized, when I got older, I realized that everybody has insecurities. It doesn't matter how beautiful, intelligent, athletic, whatever you are. Everybody has insecurities, and we want children to know this because, as I said earlier, they're one of a kind and they have a gift to share with our world. And we want the young children to know this so that they'll carry that with them throughout their lives. And when things get hard and people are mean, because they can be mean, unfortunately, that they'll remember, hey, I'm here for a reason. I have something to share. I will get through this, and have the confidence to know that, yes, this is challenging, but I will get through this.
And Liz, what do you think?
Well, I would just like to go back to the quote I said earlier, which is that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I would just encourage any youth out there listening to know that you can repeat to yourself, this is temporary, because even throughout a day, even sometimes within an hour, the mood can feel different, right? Your circumstances do not have to be the determination of your future. I mean, you can give there's a whole slew of examples, but Nelson Mandela comes to mind. I mean, look at what he did with his circumstances. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a tough one, and resources for children is not as accessible like adults. I mean, we go anywhere in suicide, mental health, and you guys are part of that solution. I'm going to say so because I believe there is happiness, and what you eat, the butterfly, can stop some of this and help avoid it and save some lives. The other elephant in the room, and this is a big bad elephant, social media and happiness. I'd love to hear your input on that.
Well, as I have 3 children who are now 23, 21, and 18, I don't know if it's because we introduced smartphones later in life for them, but they at different times have chosen voluntarily to delete the apps off their phones. I mean, your own self-talk is sometimes the most toxic. So recognizing that just because somebody says it doesn't make it true. And I just want to go back to what I said earlier, because I just was recently told, like, men in particular are really, young men are really resistant to ask for help. And so I would just say, like, no, we are not psychologists, psychiatrists, and we're not therapists, but I would strongly, there are a lot of resources out there for people. And I'm wishing I had this t-shirt that I bought recently that literally says that alarming statistic on the shirt as a conversation starter, to get men talking about this, to get young men talking about this. But social media there's an algorithm in there. So I guess what I would say is you become like the 5 people you hang out with. You get to choose who you friend, who you don't. And what I would say is stay out of the comment section. Stay out of the comment section. You can block people, you can unfriend people. If their energy is toxic, know that you have the power. My algorithm is absolutely beautiful because I search for things like happiness and kitten videos and things that make me feel good. I don't get any of that toxic stuff in my feed. And the only time I've gotten in trouble myself with social media is when I've gone in the comments. Do not engage with toxic personalities in the comments section. That's my advice about social media. And that you can delete the app.
Yeah. I mean, it's so simple, but it's not. How about you, Cyrina? What's your thoughts on social media?
Well, I believe that, there's actually, I want to say I'm 95% sure it's Australia, and they're trying to make it.
They passed it.
They did pass it. Okay. It's
they
like
passed it.
for 16 and under.
Okay, breaking news. Da-da-da-da. We got breaking news.
Okay, I knew they were trying, but I didn't know if it passed. Okay, well, yeah, and that they're not going to allow social media for young children because we know that it increases depression, anxiety, and suicide. And so I want children to realize that this is just a snapshot that is portrayed of, like, this is not real life for some people. And also to know, like, maybe give yourself a time frame. Like, okay, I'm going to allow myself 20 minutes to be on social media today, because they spend hours and hours. And give yourself the gift of doing something fun outside. I mean, when I was a kid, obviously there was not social media, but we'd go outside and play games, soccer, softball. We would just run around the neighborhood and have fun and be silly and get exercise and breathe in fresh air. I mean, I know now we have to be conscious of, kids being outside by themselves, but, have fun. And sitting in front of the computer and looking at social media is not going to help facilitate that. And also, another thing about happiness, we know that creating connections with live people, not social media friends, but with live people, and having that connection brings more happiness. So I think that we should, allow children to know, like, hey, you can have a friend and you can, whatever you like to do, whether it's, doing art, playing games, exercising, whatever it might be, you can create it.
Sorry, the crowd is Cyrina just locked her. And I've got one more thing for you. Got a question. Drum roll. Who's happier, Liz or Cyrina? Which one of you is happier?
I think it depends on the day. I think
It depends on the
There
day.
you go. It was a trick question. You answered it. I think Liz is going ahead. That was a trick fun question because nobody should ask that question. Happy is happy. Whether you're happy here, happy, just be happy. Because we're coming to the end here. God, time flew, and I kind of knew it would. These ladies are brilliant. So what's the best way to connect with you, ladies?
I think if you'd like to learn more, we're going to be doing a crowdfunding campaign to help fund the animation of our new program. And I would love for people to share that far and wide, but it's not quite ready yet. So if you are curious and interested, please shoot us an email at info@sustainablehappinnesstogether.com and just put in the subject line, "Fund It Baby," or heart, full of heart, or something like that. How about full of heart? Let's do full of heart, since that's the promo code. In the subject line, do full of heart, and just let us know if you would like to be included in our newsletter when we announce the crowdfunding campaign. And we're thinking, like, if you could donate $5, $8, $10 or share it with your networks, we're going to be able to fund this quickly and get this out there so we can support as many children as possible.
Yeah, we're excited.
And I want you to keep. Yeah, I want to make sure happiness ESS. Okay, I'm going to add it right here just so people can see it. That should be the email, if that's correct.
Oh, Happiness Together. SustainableHappinessTogether.com.
Together. Okay, see, let me fix that. See, this is what we call live TV. So while I'm doing this, I want you guys each to tell me who you invite. I've got a Learjet that I've got for each one of you. There's 4 seats. What are the 3 people you would invite, and where would you go?
I know who I would invite. I would invite Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
I would invite Mel Robbins.
Okay.
And I would invite Einstein, because I would love to learn from all of them, to experience all of them. And also, I think that I would probably I would like to go to New Zealand with them and be outdoors in the beauty and absorb.
William Wallace. Mel Gibson movie. Sorry, we're talking about New Zealand. I think of that movie. I can't think of the name. And that's correct. That's the correct email?
Yes.
Let's let it come. Yep, good. So people reach out, info. I'm just going to email them because I love talking to them. I'm just going to send them an email just for fun. Liz, who would you invite and where would you fly to?
I think mine are the same as Cyrina's. I mean, living or dead? That's the question. I don't know.
Living or dead? Yeah, living or dead. You don't have to be alive.
Well, lately I've been struggling a little bit with my physical strength, so I might actually invite Ruth Bader Ginsburg, just because she was like doing the Marine workout until 95 or something. But I would also invite Oprah, because she's just an inspiration to me. And I think you're dead. Oh, I've done this before. I mean, maybe Julie Andrews or somebody who's just really talented. Somebody could like sing for us or sing with us. We could have a sing along on the plane.
Oh, that would be fantastic. That's great flight. No, yeah. Those are awesome.
New Zealand would be fun. I mean, wow, there's so many. I mean, and that's the other thing, is that I would say, like, you never know, like, where you come from, where you could go. I mean, my life has unfolded as I never anticipated. All I ever wanted to do when I grew up is travel. And I've been to Europe 3 times this year. Like I've lived in Australia for 4.5 years. And I mean, like, I just would say sky's the limit. So where would I want to go? Somewhere warm.
Bahamas.
They're warm.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Yeah.
I like that, Cyrina. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm joining you. Ladies, thank you so much. Audience, if you want to be happy, more importantly, if you want your children to be happy, you see the email going by, or go to the website, sustainablehappinnesstogether.com. Connect with them. Take advantage of 70% off. And as always, thank you for watching. Me and Liz and Cyrina are so happy that you did and that you take action and be happy. As the Pharrell Williams says. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, everybody.